How culturally competent is CNA as an organization? Very culturally competent, somewhat, or not? Three seconds. Somewhat. Wow, that somewhat keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Okay. There's work to be done here, right? Let me ask this question. How culturally competent are you? Very culturally competent, somewhat, or not? 3 seconds. We had a major improvement there, didn't we? It's those other people we got to work on. You know, boy, if everybody was like me, we'd be okay, huh? Yeah. Now, you got to be culturally competent in the workplace, not in the bathroom. You got to do it in the work team and in the meetings. But there's a vast improvement here, but there's still work to be done. Let's acknowledge that. And here's the thing about being culturally competent. When you desire to do the work and desire to learn about people, and you have a curiosity to understand where people are coming from, that's what makes you culturally competent. I tell people trying to be right keeps you wrong. You got to be willing and courageous enough to be in the conversation and look at it as a learning experience. If you hang out with people who are different, you're going to learn different things. People like to stay in their comfort zone. We often talk about Michael Jordan. How great a basketball player was Michael Jordan? Unbelievable. He tried another sport, didn't he? Baseball. How great a baseball player was he? He was okay. What did Michael Jordan do? He quit and went what? Back to his comfort zone. So many of you are going to leave here, you're going to be excited, and you're going to be looking for different people. Hey, different person. There goes another different person. How you doing? And as soon as things don't go right, we're going to go what? Right back to our comfort zone. So if we're going to get into this world of diversity of thought and real talk, we have to be willing to branch out into new arenas. So let's look at this from a value standpoint. Why is this important as we begin to kind of wrap up discussion and open it up for questions from the group? Why is diversity of thought critical? Innovation, new ideas, new thoughts, continuous process improvement. So sometimes it's not about new things, but even doing the things that you do better because of the fact that you're having this critical thought process. Personal growth from individuals gaining new thinking. If you hang around people who are different, you gain new insights. Empowered people. When people feel as though they can bring their voice and their voice counts, they get empowered and become more effective. Unique, controversial, uncommon thoughts. Some of the best ideas come from uncommon places. One of the famous diversity stories that's out there, matter of fact, I learned it from my colleague who used to work here, was Amoco several years ago had a woman come to the marketing team for the first time. She was very young, had small children. So she came to work, she said, look, every time I go to get gas, I gotta go in the trunk, get the stroller out, take my 2 kids out of the car seat, put them in the stroller, stroll up, pay for gas, come back, take the kids back out the stroller, put them in the car seat, put the car seat back in the trunk. Takes about 20 minutes to get gas. Any way we could pay at the pump? Raise your hand if you pay at the pump today. We glad she took that job, correct? That's right. Now, did they say, here's a woman, she gonna have us paying at the pump? No. Different people ask what? Different questions. Different questions end up giving what? Better solutions. Who gets the advantage of those solutions? We all do. Now, I don't got to buy those donuts that I didn't need anyway, correct? Because every time you go in there, you're buying something you don't want. All right? We can pay at the pump and move on. But it's a matter of accepting that idea. They could have said, oh, that's stupid. And we still have to walk in and pay for gas. But they were open to the thinking, new people bringing new insights to the table. This is my college basketball team. I played basketball in college. And that skinny guy right there used to look like that guy right there. It's me, okay? And so the guy sitting next to me, who was also the co-captain of the team with me, is Scott Brown. And Scott Brown just lost the Senate race in Massachusetts. He's a Republican. And when he first won and took Ted Kennedy's seat, they asked the question of how could a Republican win in Massachusetts? I said, I know how he won. He hung out with these 7 black guys for 4 years and got a different way of seeing the world. Now, our coach was really into diversity. You see black guy, white guy, black guy, white guy, black guy, white guy. He had us even sitting there. When we got on the road, we used to have to stay in rooms with the black guy, white guy, because he didn't want this kind of clique thing going on. He wanted us to really be able to understand and know one another. So when you look at this team, there's a couple of things that you would notice right away. And the first one is the fact that you have 7 black guys, 7 white guys. What you don't notice is we had 4 extremely wealthy, 4 extremely poor, that was me, and everywhere in between, okay? We had 6 Republicans, 8 Democrats, wasn't split across racial lines. We had 8 inner city, 4 suburban, 2 self-proclaimed farmers who let us know all the time, I grew up on a farm, I'm not like you guys. We had 1 gay guy, we found that out 10 years later. He found out that I was in diversity, he called me up, like, hey, how you doing? I'm gay. I'm like, okay, how's the family? Everybody all right? You know? Now, you think he was going to share that in the locker room? No. It wasn't comfortable for him. As soon as he found out I was in this space, he immediately shared with me. We talked for about 2 hours about the experience he had being on that team as a gay person, the jokes he dealt with. And I had no idea and was probably telling half of them myself at that point in time in my life. One guy has Lou Gehrig's disease. He's been in a wheelchair for 15 years. That's the last time we all saw each other. The first one passed away in March of last year. Second one passed away last month. One guy's a billionaire today. That's not me. You can believe that. And 2 guys have done jail time. That's not me either. Now, there's no way you can hang out with a group of people like this and stay the same. And I don't care what your origin was, we all left here bigger and better people learning from one another. When I talk to people about diversity, they say, just give me one thing to do that will help. I say, find some new friends. Talk to some different people. Expand your horizons. Be a part of this new movement that says there's power when we bring difference together to achieve outcomes. Does that make sense? All right, thank you for your time. Any questions for me? Any questions for me in this last 10 minutes or so? Oh yeah, make sure to hand those in. Yeah, my son said, look, because he know if we don't have remotes, it's coming out of his check. So make sure you have all of the remotes passed in while you think about the questions. Any questions for me based on what was shared? I know we have individuals who are on the phone as well, so at this time, or yes, back here.
Just a swag, what percentage of companies are truly employing diversity and inclusion?
The key word there is truly, right? So I would say a sincere all-out effort, you probably have about 20% of the major organizations really trying to get it done and putting the resources to get it done well. Now you have these awards they give out and all of that for this area. Even those organizations who might be in that percentage, there's work for them to do. But they might be doing well in one component of the work, having some challenges in the others. But I think there's some key components that those companies have. One is leadership commitment. The second is they really have a strong business case on how this can help them become a better organization. 3, they help the organization become culturally competent. So on a daily basis, we're valuing and leveraging differences. And they also understand this concept called weighted input. And when I say weighted input, what I'm saying is that when you're in discussions, certain people might have a better way of seeing the world than others based on their experience. As a diversity guy, companies will always say, hey, Doug, help me to understand how to get along better with these young people. I'm like, man, look, I'm your age. I don't know how to get along with them no better than you. If you want to know how to get along with young people, who do you need to talk to? Young people. You need to weigh their input, okay? And then obviously the resources to drive it towards success. So there's a few companies doing it well. They are still at it, though, trying to get it better. All right? Thank you. Yes.
So I was thinking, like with most things, if it's sports or anything, the earlier you get someone, the more likely it'll be that they'll adapt to it. Like if you're teaching someone basketball or something at 4 or 5, by the time they're 15, they're a pretty good dribbler and they can shoot and all of that. So let's talk about this when you talk about diversity and inclusion. As you meet with people that are more seasoned,
Yes.
Mature.
That's a nice word. That's
yeah,
good.
Yeah. I thought
That's respectful truth.
Sprinkle that one on you.
Yeah.
Do you find that it's harder to get them, or are there more challenges to get more seasoned people to buy into what this looks like and to employ this diversity of thought?
Right.
And how do you deal with that?
Yeah. Okay. So the question is that when you find individuals who are seasoned, you didn't use the word, but they might be somewhat stuck in their ways, unwilling to bend. Is it a challenge to get them to understand the value of the topic? I think that many people in my generation did not grow up in extremely diverse arenas, okay? We watched TV, they had 3 channels. They all went off at 9 o'clock. You know, we had My 3 Sons with the shoe going to the right, you know, Leave It to Beaver. We had now they got TV, they got access, you got webinar. Right. So people have a lot more exposure to difference. And that exposure creates comfort. But I think there are people who also grew up, and I know Deb mentioned this in her opening comments, with just a good heart, you know, and even with the absence of exposure, there's a desire to do right. And so as they learn and as they gain insights, they are willing to bend. There are others who don't take that trail. Okay. Now what's happening now is they're getting left behind. You know, we're dealing with this all over the nation, and it's like, if you're gonna be a leader in this world, you better be able to deal with difference.
Absolutely.
I was making a speech at University of Chicago Law School. Young man stood up, he was in his mid-20s, very handsome guy, perfect hair, all that stuff, you know. He's like, Doug, you know, I'm a young man from Iowa. What's in diversity for me? You know, I said, look, diversity still wants white men. They just want white men to value diversity. I said, you want to separate yourself from everybody coming out of this law school is going to be smart. But if you want to separate yourself, pick up this subject. He hung out with me for the next few hours. I couldn't get rid of the guy. All right? So there's no losers in this space, but there's a mindset of you got to be willing to adapt. And that's not only in this space, but in the business world. Deb and I were talking. We were like, hey, about 2-3 people left. When I was working, I said, no, they're not here, right? Nobody likes change but a wet baby. But change is coming. Change is coming. And if you don't adapt, there's a cost. It can be more challenging, but if you must adapt. I see now, because of the fact that this is needed and it's important, I see a lot more people moving towards change. Yep. Great question, thank you. Anyone else?
So I'd like to ask the opposite question.
Yes.
For people who are entering the workforce who have had positive experiences with their own differences in being accepted, being heard, who may not see the value in diversity initiatives at companies because for them they've only had positive experiences.
Right.
What would you say about how to make sure that we're including them and that we're helping show them there's still work to be done?
Yes. Yep. So the question is, for those who've kind of had it in their life, it's a part of who they are, and they're saying, you know, why do we need some kind of special initiative? Why can't people just do what they're supposed to do? That's how I've grown up, and that's what I've seen. I would share with them to be the pioneer to assist others. You know, because some of this stuff, even I deal with my son and his friends, it's like, they're like, wow, do you really got to go through all of that to get along? Can't this be more natural? And unfortunately, because of what my man shared earlier, there's still a lot of discomfort. There's still a lot of fear. The other thing was I would share is don't think you're that good so that you don't need help in this space as well. Because these young people I see, I'm like, yeah, you need a little diversity. You may got that part, but this part you're not as good at as well. So always be open and learn. The last piece I would say is value those who have come before you. Respect history. You know, they've come through a different stage, seen different things, so they might have a little bit different perspective. And you might be like, where's that coming from? But it's important to respect history. Because one of the true things in life, you will be old one day too, or dead. So you probably prefer old versus dead. And when you get there, somebody's going, what's wrong with these people? Right? They're going to have computers in their socks by then. We don't know what they're going to be happening. You're going to be like, what happened to the iPhone? iPhone, they be calling people by hitting their forehead. We don't know where we're going to be, right? And so you're going to feel archaic. So respect that history as you kind of work and help people to get this right. Help people to get this. One of my sons who was a wrestler, we live in Oak Park, so one of his friends who came over, white gentleman, good guy, they grew up very diverse their whole life out there. And so he had taken a job at one of these companies. I said, man, how you like it? He said, man, it's too white. I said, but you white. He said, I know, but it's still too white. So the other thing is that nobody wants these homogeneous environments anymore. If you're young and you grew up in that way, you want the diversity. And so you need to teach and help others to get this thing right. Okay? Great question, and thank you for it. All right? Any other things? How we doing here? How was that? Was all right? Yeah, I'm tired. My throat, I got a little cold. Thank you. I want to tell my son, I always give him a hard time. Very proud of you. No question. All right, thank you very much. Thank you, Deb.
All right, he was as great as I said he would be, wasn't he? Yes. He'd touch your heart and your mind? Yeah, that's what Doug does so well. So what I'm going to remember is Doug said go back and meet somebody, make new friends. So, you know, if you think about the best friend to make at CNA is the one who you understand the least, the one who you disagree with the most, might be the most interesting one for you to talk to today. So think about that. Thanks again to Doug and Gerard. Thank you.